So my name is Debra Roberts, and I'm outreaching to you from right out of Boston, Massachusetts. So I am a Fontbonne University alum, and I want to thank Kim and I want to thank the Fontbonne University for inviting me to speak with you today. So today we're going to talk about balancing between community service and your career. And I just want to level set. I'm I'll be straightforward. This is not easy to do. It is very complex. I remember when I was, a student at Fontbonne University that I volunteered at the St. Louis Art Museum. And that was a feel good. I met a lot of people as I sat at the information desk. So that was one volunteer effort when I was in undergrad. But another time, I fast forward to when my children were very young, and I decided that I wanted to be a Sunday school teacher, a Bible Sunday school teacher at my church. So my kids were young. I was a Sunday school teacher with the age group, same age group as my kids. And we passed out the booklets and we were going to start with the reading. So of course you read first and then you answer questions or you talk about the Bible study later. So I asked the students. So my kids were there and had other kids, maybe about 4 or 5 other students there. So I said, well, who wants to read the first paragraph in the Sunday school lesson? So, they're raising their hand. I want to read, I want to read, I want to read. So I said, okay, Johnny, you read the first paragraph. Silence. Johnny, okay, go ahead and read the first paragraph. Silence. Okay, Johnny, you raised your hand to read, so can you go ahead and read? So he says, Mrs. Roberts, I don't know how to read. And that's when it dawned on me that he wanted me to teach him how to read. He was eager to learn how to read. But I didn't have credentials. I wasn't a teacher. I didn't have the credentials or the background to teach someone to read. And that's when it first struck me that this wasn't the right volunteer effort for me. So shortly thereafter, the credit union at the church asked me to volunteer to be on their executive board, and I was the treasurer. And I said, that is a good fit because my background is finance and I'm very well versed in managing people, looking at financial reports. And that's how I started to understand you have to first see what you're passionate about. So for me, it's serving the underserved population. 2 is being involved in developing programs and anything to do with financial reporting and financial discussions. Now, I could have chosen the other side, to volunteer at a large corporation or with the rich, but that was not my destiny. That was not my mission. So I understood that early on. So as time went on, I understood that you have to follow guiding principles to do this volunteer work, to serve your community, and to work on your career. What I saw was true is that you have to look at what is your purpose on doing whatever you're doing. And for this case, it's volunteering. So what is your purpose? You have to develop a plan of action. And finally, progress. You have to chart your progress. And this is what I'm calling the 3 Ps. And this is what is in this session for you, this webinar for you, is to understand the 3 Ps and how you could apply it to your volunteer efforts. I had to understand, why do I volunteer? Why is it important to volunteer? Well, it's important to volunteer because there are not a lot of people out there that want to do the same things that you want to do or fulfilling a need. I decided that what I wanted to do was be a change in the world. I wanted to affect a change. I wanted to be that change. I had to understand myself. Now, some people will doubt you in the direction that you go. You can even doubt yourself. But if you sit and you're silent and you meditate, then you will understand your true self. So, one of the things that I did was I chaired the Stoughton Diversity and Inclusion Organization. Now, this is a grassroots organization that I, with others, uh, developed because there was a need. There was not anything that would satisfy that type of attention and that focus in our community. So I was working with other people that wanted to do the same things. Now, volunteering is a time commitment, but it's a fun, exciting time if you're doing something that you're passionate about. So, fast forward to today, I was elected to be on the select board. Now, a select board is similar to a city councilor in St. Louis, Missouri. So, for a town, it's called the select board. I had to find my purpose and I had to understand what I can do in a reasonable amount of time. So I started off with got up in the morning, walked my dog, I missed breakfast, I headed to work for my career. I stayed late at work, long hours. I missed my exercise routine. I had to say to my pet later on that day, well, I'll be sure to walk you tomorrow because I just couldn't fit it into my schedule today. I miss seeing my family and friends. So that may be the current scenario for some of you, but an ideal scenario or best practice scenario would be to do something a little bit different to stay organized. So when you're volunteering and you're finding your purpose, you're understanding what skill sets do you have that are transferable. Now, this sounds like a job, doesn't it? It really is. Volunteering is a job. So I had to balance all of my activities. So, what made me think that I could do all of this work? What made me think that? Well, I used the three P's: purpose, planning, and progress. So, I typically work about 40 to 60 hours per week, and I volunteer typically 4 to 6 hours per week. Now, sometimes I don't do that because, like when I at work as a finance manager, we have audits. So, audit dictates your time at work. That's just as an example. Or for month end close, when you're doing financials. Well, I spend more time at work than that typical 40 to 60 hours. On the volunteer side, I may spend more than that 10% of time. It's like when I am was running for elected office and campaigning. Well, I spent more than the 4 to 6 hours doing my campaigning. So once again, I had to come back to why did I think I could do this work? Well, it's following those three P's: purpose, planning, and progress. And this is what I want to share with you today because I do want to spend time fully utilizing my career, working toward my career. I want to spend time with my family and friends. I want to walk my dog and go exercise. And for me, I go to church. So I want to be able to fit all of that in. Everything I do is driven by purpose. So, how did I start off? By identifying what is my purpose. I identified a need, something that I was passionate about. My purpose was to serve the underserved population. I saw an issue or a program that needed to be addressed. This was my purpose. This purpose led me to volunteering and being an active member on the board of governors for the YMCA in my area because I like exercising and I also like finance. So doing fundraising and helping with the programs was ideal for me. Or as the president of the National Association of Black Accountants, or being in town governance. So what population am I going to serve? What are my transferable skills? What is my purpose? I also like to develop a list, a list of what do I like to do? What are my skills? What can I bring to the table? What am I passionate about? So I made this list. And you can also, for me, when I go to church, I am silent, I'm listening to the sermons. And when I'm meditating and practicing yoga, I'm doing the same thing. So I understand what is my inspiration. Now, my beautician said she got her inspiration from watching the movie Robots. And that's kind of a kid's movie. It's a cartoon. And you hear Robin Williams' voice in the background and Halle Berry's voice in the background. But there is a line in that movie, and it says, see a need, fill a need. Well, there are a lot of different motivating statements out there, like returning the favor, pay it forward. And as the president of the National Black Accountants Association, their motto is lift as you climb. Now, this motto resonates with me, and this is why I want to share with you my lessons learned. I want to lift as I climb. What causes do you support? Think about that. What are you passionate about? Think about that. What skills do you want to give? Example, do you like pets? Well, maybe work for or volunteer at a pet shelter. Or do you like to read? How about reading to students at the library? You can always find inspiration everywhere, just like my beautician did with watching the movie. Then you can ensure you're not wasting your time when you're outreaching to these various organizations to volunteer your time. I want to state, by serving your community, you're actually serving yourself. The next phase is planning. Planning, planning, you chart what you're going to do, what is your objective. It's if anyone has to develop a plan or strategic plan at work, it's similar to that. So first, you've identified what you're passionate about, but now you identify what are those objectives so you can be sure to stay on course, to stay focused. So I develop a plan of approach. I research organizations in the area that has a mission to do what I'm passionate about. Then I plan which organizations I'm an outreach to see if they need someone with my skill sets to help. I list all of these skills as I'm taught, so it's easy to communicate with that person on the other end. So I plan it out. I plan my objective. By serving your community, you're really serving yourself. It makes you feel good to satisfy your passion, to satisfy your purpose. Now, who can't find 1 hour per week to serve on a nonprofit or serve at a school to do some type of community work? Progress is the next phase. This is the doing phase. to chart your progress, you have to use metrics. Metrics, are you meeting your goals? Or are you not? Is this the place to be or not? Is it time to move on? So I started my conversation with you talking about how I was a Sunday school teacher. Well, that was a short life. And I realized that my skills were not transferable. And I moved on. When I was on the board of the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts, I was on that executive board for 3 years. And one of my purpose for getting on that board, they put the underserved, they find jobs for the underserved population. So as an executive board member, I was the chair of the audit committee. And one of the things that I did was to develop a policy and procedure for expenses for the president and CEO, and ensuring that we had an audit that had no findings. So after being on the board for 3 consecutive terms, it was time for me to move on. And I knew that because something else opened up. And that something else was the town of Stoughton's finance committee. And they invited me to join the committee. Now, I was already on the board of assessors for the town of committee. So I had served with the town of Stoughton maybe for about 12 years, but progressively increased what I was doing and in various capacities, which led me to say it's now time for me to run for public office, because one of my passions is to write policy. One of my passions is to serve the underserved population. One of my passions is to meet people that want to do the same things that I do, so it increases my network. Now, there's going to come a time where you're going to slip up, you're going to fall. But that's not the end all to be all. Pick yourself up and start again. It's just like being on a diet. If you slip, start again the next day. It's also a good idea to journal, to document your journey through your career and through your nonprofit endeavor. Document everything. And don't forget to update your resume. That's very important too, because 5 years from now, you'll say, well, I volunteered for XYZ organization, but what did you do? What was the objective? What was the outcome? You have to put that on your resume. It's very important. So in conclusion, volunteering has been very rewarding. It's been a life-changing experience for me and for those people that I served. And I did some research using the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's the US Department of Labor. It's the most current study, but it was year 2015. And they said about 62.6 million people volunteered through or for an organization at least once between September 2014 and September 2015. The volunteer rate for men was 21.8% for the year ending September 2015. The rate for women was 27.8% for this same time period. So women volunteer more than men. That's the point of that. Well, thank you very much, everyone. And I hope you found these guiding principles helpful. That's following the 3 Ps: purpose, plan, and chart your progress. Please, at any time, outreach to me and keep in contact. That would be something that I would treasure. And if Fontbonne University would like me to come back and talk about another topic, I would be interested in doing that as well. So thank you so much and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.